I want to talk about limiting beliefs and empowering beliefs and the difference in attitude from Lee Bowyer and Graeme Jones at the weekend. Now, these are two managers I've spoken about in recent videos, not only a couple of weeks ago. Both promoted from League One last season, Luton and Charlton. And last weekend, both faced very similar challenges in the fact that they both played Wednesday night and went away from home to teams who played on the Tuesday night. So they had 24 hours less turnaround time. And, you know, both had reasons, good valid reasons to be aggrieved with how the schedule had treated them. Especially as newly promoted sides, you know, the fact that they were playing away midweek and then going away again at the weekend to teams that had played 2 home games and had a much, you know, shorter turnaround. So those points are entirely valid. The scheduling was unfair and it shouldn't have been allowed that way. They should have played Sunday. Both teams should have played Sunday to at least give Charlton and Luton a little bit of time to recuperate and to be a little bit better prepared for the Sunday game, just as Bristol City and Wigan played on the Sunday. So they're the circumstances. The points about the turnaround are totally valid, but the two managers came at it with completely different attitudes and they ended up with different results. Graeme Jones was the one who was most vocal about the turnaround and the difficulties, and he said, you know, he just basically hammered the point that little Luton and Charlton, as he called them, little Luton and Charlton, had to overcome all these obstacles. Not just, you know, it wasn't a level playing field, it wasn't fair. This was straight after the midweek game that Luton had played. He was straight on the offensive about this, and then he pretty much dominated his post-match press conference after the 2-1 defeat at Birmingham on Saturday. Charlton, by contrast, you know, very similar. They went to Bristol City on the Wednesday night, lost in the last minute, 2-1 defeat, and Lee Bowyer virtually didn't mention it. You know, he did come up, and Charlton went to West Brom, the much tougher game at the weekend, with a horrendous injury list. They had 9 players injured. Jonathan Lecco was ineligible because he was a West Brom player, and they also had the turnaround and everything that went with that. And when asked about it, Lee Bowyer said, yeah, it's tough. And I mentioned in my previous video about all the challenges that Lee Bowyer has faced during his time in Charlton, selection headaches, and he's turned every negative into a positive by being a very astute game-by-game tactician and basically adapting his tactics to the circumstances, the personnel available. Everything is custom fit to the next challenge. And he's got this mindset that everything's going to be okay. It doesn't matter what you throw at me, I'll come up with a solution. It's all part of the puzzle, it's all a challenge. Let's see what we can come up with. And he said straight after the game on Wednesday night at Bristol City, his first reaction was, you know, he was still dwelling on the disappointment of conceding a last-minute goal in a game that he felt Charlton should have won. And when presented with the challenge, he said, we'll be okay, we'll come up with something, we'll come up with a game plan, we'll be fine, I'm sure everything will be okay. And as it was, Charlton went to West Brom and played a 2-2 draw, scoring a last-minute equaliser. Now, if there was any team that was destined, you know, to concede a late goal, you would think it would be Charlton. You know, we're talking about a team that in the Asian handicap markets before the game, you know, they were 1.25 goals inferior to West Brom in that game at the Hawthorns, according to the markets, whereas Luton were only 0.5 goals inferior to Birmingham. You know, it was Birmingham winning the game was only an even money shot beforehand. And, you know, Luton basically went into the game with a completely different attitude where the focus was entirely on the schedule. It was talked about so much that I think it gets to a point where the players can't help but carry that with them into the game, that the manager's continually going on about how unfair the schedule is. And as it transpired, Luton did dig deep and got an equaliser at Birmingham. It was a lesser challenge, but they got themselves an equaliser, got themselves back into the game, but then conceded again. And if you'd have said to me beforehand, I know this can be construed as after timing, but if someone would have said to me beforehand, based on how the two managers framed the game, one of these two teams is going to get a last-minute equaliser for a 2-2 draw, and the other one isn't. And even money bet, I'd have bet anybody, I'd have wanted to be on the side of Charlton. So, you know, basically, I just think that managers have to be careful how they frame things, and we know it's unfair, and the point should be made. I think it's right that Jones flags it up, but how much you go on about it and how much you make the game about that one particular fact, I think bleeds into that next performance. I think it's only natural for the players to carry those beliefs with them into the next game. And whereas the Charlton players had a can-do attitude that will be fine, it'll be all right, we'll find the game plan, and they went to Charlton and got a 2-2 draw, Luton were more, played the role of victims more, and I think that was probably evident in their performance and in terms of the fact that they got nothing and never really looked like getting anything late on in the game against Birmingham. So this is not to... I'm always careful and always... I don't want to come across as, you know, not everything is black and white. This isn't good management and bad management. I just want to show the piece about beliefs and how that little aspect can make a difference, in my opinion. You know, Graeme Jones playing the underdog card might well be to his advantage in the long run. There's always a bigger picture here, and over the course of the season, you know, Graeme Jones's framing of Little Luton might be what keeps him in the division ultimately. Playing this underdog card throughout the season, taking the pressure off his players. But in this particular one-off instance, I think that it's not helped Luton at Birmingham to go with that attitude, and that to be so much the focus in the post-match press conference from midweek, and then the pre-match press conference heading into the game, and then you hear it all over again in the post-match press conference after Birmingham. It's clearly been something that's very heavily on Jones's mind in preparation for that game. He's absolutely spot on, it's unfair, but it's in my opinion, it's bled into the performance. Whereas Charlton and Lee Bowyer, with his can-do, problem-solving attitude and his confidence almost bordering on arrogance of such a big challenge and saying, we'll be okay, people keep writing us off, we'll keep finding the solutions and we'll keep surprising people. And that's why, in my opinion, why Charlton have gone to the Hawthorns, dug in there, they've, you know, had some good fortune, West Brom going down to 10 men, but have basically bagged themselves a last-minute equaliser from a penalty, you know, and just, you know, I just think these things tend to be rewarded, and I just think it's a contrast worth pointing out.